All right, so as I mentioned, I had created a harness. So this is the harness that I created. These are very rough drawings of what I did. So this is what the back is meant to look like and function as. And I'll split the harness up in a moment. And this is the front. So basically it comes down, two straps coming down side by side. These are these that you're seeing here. And then there's going to be all of these small connecting pieces that'll connect all the parts together. So the first thing that I think I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this main strap onto this piece here from the back. So this will be the last time that you'll see the front of these until I'm done, because once I put the glue on, I have to wait for everything to dry. So you won't see it till the end. Already put the glue on these and the screws. So let's start going. I'm going to take this off from here. It has buckles. And like I mentioned, I may make a separate video for creating one of these harnesses, depending on whether or not I find that others have done it. But I think still that might be useful. So this is the back. Let me just show that briefly. So as you can see here, again, this is not to scale on the picture, obviously. This was just to give me an idea. So it's 12 inches end to end, 6-inch separation here. And then we have 15 inches, more or less, from here to here. And this was sort of made to fit my back. And I'm 5'8". So yeah, that's the back. Then we have our front. As you can see, these are the pieces that come down, and these actually get glued a little bit in an angle. Imagine the neck is here, so this will go like this, and they'll come out this way to sort of go over the shoulder. Obviously, I need to take out these buckles. These are adjustable. So yeah, it's going to be glued from the back, and it has to fall right about there. Let's get started. Let me start by taking off these buckles. Just because they're just going to get in the way as I'm trying to do this. And depending on what happens, if these start running short, then what I'll do is I'll take this, I'll put it back in here, and we'll see what happens at the end, because this is the first time I do one of these. And then I'll just sew it right here. That way I get the extra length that I would have had used here for the little plastic piece. Because if you don't have the little plastic piece, this slides out a lot easier. So that's why I would need to sew it on here, on this end here. So we'll see how things turns out. So I've planned a little bit in case I have some issues. Same thing with the top. If these run a little short, then obviously you can see here, if I take out this strap from here, right? They say that falls right there. If it runs a little short, if I take it out and then I sew it here, I get that much more of a difference. You can see it's a significant difference between those two if I need to sew it right there versus what this is. So we'll work the problems as they appear, or really if they appear, which I have a slight suspicion that they might, just because of the curvature of this here. It's gonna eat up some of the strap, which is what I'm expecting will happen. So before I actually start gluing this, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is, on all the parts where I think this is gonna connect, I'm just gonna give it a light sanding just to rough it up a little bit, to give the glue a little teeth, little tiny micro teeth to grab onto versus just a slightly smooth surface. So the next part you're gonna see is once I start gluing this together. All right, so there's been a slight change of plans. Well, originally I said that I was going to mount the harness on this first, but as I thought about it, I realized that it might be best to start from the bottom up, more or less, because I need to make sure that I have enough length to fit the bottom. Specifically here, on this piece here, I want the top of the harness to be right there, right at the top. So I basically have to start from right there. Once I have that on, then everything else should fall into place based on what I want. So let me take this off for a second. So you'll notice here there's a whole bunch of black marks everywhere. These all correspond to what I had originally designed here. So I may need to trim some of these. These are just rough sizes, but they're basically the placement. These two here is questionable whether I'll need them or not, because the harness folds so tightly that I may not really need them right here. So I'll put this back, and you'll see here what I mean. I have the marks right here. Actually, are those it? Yeah. So these marks, this piece is missing here. Here we go. So the 3 and the 2 inch are right here, 3, 2 inch, and then the 3 going down is this one here. I had this 3 inch coming up across here, but since this is so close to this, I may actually not need that, especially since this strap is also going to glue onto this, and I have a piece coming up across this way. So I don't really think I'm going to need that piece, but I'm leaving it on the plan just in case. But these, I'll definitely need them because I want this to stay more solid. I'm going to need these. And here I have 2 that are to attach this bottom little flaps. So I'm going to start by gluing this. By the way, I already roughed up all of the back of these a little bit. You may not be able to tell, but let's see, you might be able to tell on this one. You see there's a little whitishness on there. That's from the sanding, and that's just to make sure that there's something for the glue to grab on much easier. So this is actually going to take a while because I feel that I have to put the glue, wait for a little bit to dry, then do the next step. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth. But again, I'm going to start with this one here. So I know I need to put glue across like this and here like this. So let's see if I could just mark this slightly just to give me a little track, you know, more or less where I need to put the glue. So basically, I'm not sure how much of this I really need, but I'm just gonna put on this part first. Sure, I'm gonna need a little more than that. So let's make sure I get this, guys. Now comes the moment. Basically what I'm trying to do is make sure that this is lined up and this is more or less straight. And I'm just looking at the distance over here just to try to get my pieces more or less around the same height, and I just cut some on my fingers. I should probably be wearing gloves for this, but I think I'll be fine. So that part is on. This, obviously I need to trim it a little bit in a slight angle. I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So in order to prevent fraying, what I do with these is I have my little torch and I just melt the end. That hurt. And that'll keep it from fraying. And that literally melted plastic onto my finger. Right, hurt. So don't do that. I'll worry about that later. I mean, it still hurts, but I'll worry about it later. All right. So here, my next spot is right here. Now this one's slightly down, so I might have to put something underneath it to help lift it up a bit. And I still have all the popsicle sticks that I took off. So I'm gonna use some of those to help support that up. Breaking off the glue pieces. Probably need one more. So I need 3. I think should be fine. Just get 3 more pieces. Looks about right. So I'm going to need glue here, glue here. So I'm going to make sure everything's lined up, or lined up as best as possible, obviously. Obviously these are going to move around. I'm going to go ahead, and I'm not going to bore you with gluing everything. So I'm going to go ahead and glue the rest slowly, and then I'll come back once I have all the pieces put together. But you get the gist. I'll come back when I have to do a few of the smaller pieces, and then I'll go forward and do the rest. Just wanted to give you a bit of a close-up view. As you can see, I have this top part connected, these 2 center pieces, and this bottom one. It kept lifting up a bit, so I put some glue painter's tape, and this tape here is just to balance it out as the glue is still drying. So this is glued going across. Obviously this is glued going all the way up, and this one is glued to the sides right here. So I think that's going to take at least an hour to cure enough that I could start putting these sides here and these bottom pieces. But again, I still need to cut some of these. So in an hour, more or less, I'll come back, and then I'm going to try to do some of the small pieces. The ones that go here, these here. This one I said I was probably not going to do. I may still do them. So I just wanted to show you how everything's laid out. Here, to get it to bend, I actually cut it halfway in order to allow this part to stay straight and this one to come over a little bit, but I did leave this part together on both sides. So the way that I attached this one, and a lot of them, I glued down here first, let the hot glue dry on both sides, or harden really. Then I did a little bit, same thing, and then I finished up here. Here I did one side, waited for it to dry, the hot glue, not the E6000. Then I attached it here, and then I just held it in place till the hot glue solidified. And basically, that's how I did a lot of these. So it's pretty solid. So we're gonna take a look at the other side now, after everything's been glued together. And there, you can see what it looks like. I used a bunch of stuff to keep these flaps kind of folded up so I really don't need this part anymore. And I needed this part here to keep this folded up. So you can see everything's together. The only thing missing now is to put all the magnets, which I'm gonna do next. Trying to get this into position, but let me show you what it'll look like with the symbol. So that's pretty much what it's gonna look like from top to bottom. And you can see down here, the bottom part, so these little flaps, as I mentioned, they would end up right here. And I just feel those would be getting a little bit in the way, and I'm not sure how much value they add. So this looks nice. As far as flexibility, you can see this is a little flexible. This has some flexibility. Let me see if I could do this from the side. You can see how that part goes down and come up. As you can see, everything's nice together. So just some notes. When I put these, you can see I left a little play here and I left a little play here. So just make sure you leave a little play. Down here, I really wanted to leave a little more room. So I'm not 100% happy with these gaps on some of these. This one's not too bad, but I actually want a little more gap. But between the E6000 and having to use the hot glue, this is just how it turned out, but hopefully it's flexible enough. This is the tummy part, so it really shouldn't be as big of an issue. Next, I'm gonna use Activator and some crazy glue or CA glue. So I'll do those now on video, but then I'll probably just fast forward. I'm using those gloves because I'm really not a fan of having CA glue on my hands. So it seems this does not really affect the paint much, which is good. I'm hoping it doesn't really affect it. I'm just gonna get a little water. I probably should have taped over that. I mean, the symbol's gonna be over this, but I just don't want the paint to start peeling off. But it does seem to have affected the paint a little bit, so take note of that. But really, it's actually affecting the clear coat. So be careful with Activator and your paints. Make sure you cover it. I probably should have pulled the magnets beforehand, but I didn't think about it, I'll be honest with you. Okay. I'm gonna test fit. So these are a few extras that I have. Okay. Want to make sure, obviously, you always want to make sure that your magnets are oriented properly. I have those on there, so I know they're gonna go like this. Next, I'm gonna put glue on one and put them on one at a time, knowing how they're oriented. But let me just test, make sure, yep, that fits. Again, this is why I'm wearing the gloves, because the CA glue. And that activator is supposed to help this solidify very quickly. Just make sure you keep track of the position of your magnets, because if you put it in backwards, it's not gonna really work. It'll end up repelling the piece instead of attracting it. What you can actually do is, and I've done it on some of these, you put a mark on the side that points down or that points up, and that way you know that that side needs to be down. In case you lose track of it, you know that that side needs to be down. But again, do one at a time, because even though it needs to be down on that specific one, that may not be the same positioning as another magnet. Meaning, as far as the opposite magnet, let's say like this magnet might be oriented differently than this magnet. As you can see on these, I already had some marks and they're slightly oriented differently, because I was actually using these for something else before, but I ended up not doing that. And just make sure you don't get CA glue on your paint. And that's the right spot. Better be the right spot. See what I mean? I don't think I'm gonna get that off. I'll just leave it. I'm just gonna probably end up damaging it more. I'll try later with a little alcohol, see if it comes off. That should have hardened by now, or glued by now. Let's just test it real quick. Yep. Oh, it's really on there. I may only need 4. So, really, I'll do these. I might do all of them anyway. I don't want this coming off as I'm walking. It'll come off, fall down, get scratched. I'm gonna go ahead, finish the rest of these, and I'll show you when I'm done. As you can see, I've gone ahead and glued all the magnets. I've done the same over here. So next, let me try to test this. Let me make sure there's no wet glue on there. That's on there. That's not gonna come out easily. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put the buckles back on the straps and then try it on. The next time you'll see this is me wearing it with a picture with the whole outfit. So this is basically a post-convention, post-mortem, if you will, as to how this worked out. For the most part, I'll say it worked out very well. There were a few scuff marks and scratches, which I pretty much expected. You can see one here. You can see one over here. This one, I know where this one happened. This happened on the walk to the diner to have some lunch. I went against the wall because I actually had this on my backpack. You can see a scratch here, which I'm really not sure how that one happened. Let me see if I can give you a close-up. You can see it there. It goes right across. It's possible that this happened in the convention while I had it on my backpack and people were bumping into me, but who knows. Other than that, it's really some scuff marks here, which you may or may not be able to see. And then what would be expected would be where it rubs against each other. Since I got it so close on the corners here and here on these tips. I'm not sure if you can see that too well. I'll try to zoom in. And yeah, wherever it touched, there's some scraping down here at the end. a little tiny one there. Again, this is to be expected. If you're wearing it and down here, things are gonna rub, things are gonna hit. It's to be expected. As far as for the harness, that held up great. Between the E6000 and the hot glue, nothing came loose at all. The one comment that I'll make is, so this part is supposed to go over the back, the top part of my back. So when I had this on, this actually bunched up like this. So I felt that I need to put a buckle here, and I am going to put one of these buckles here. One, to make it adjustable, and two, to make it a little easier to get in and out. Here on these bottom pieces as well, in the center, I am going to put buckles in the center because I felt that actually helps adjust things a little better. So overall, I'm very happy with the harness, other than these back parts that I mentioned that I would like to improve upon. And then down here, it probably would have been nice to have some buckles coming down to be able to hook on to the belt in the back to help keep this up. Because what it tended to do a little bit, it would slide down a little bit. So having something pulling down on it would have helped keep it up and more solid. And that may have been affected by this being loose. So we'll see. I'm gonna try these first, putting these buckles on first, try it out. If that doesn't work out, then I'm just gonna add some extensions here with some buckle loops that I could put on my belt, and that's it. But other than that, I'm very happy the way it turned out. What I am gonna do back here next though, and that's unrelated to performance, it's more related to the look that I want. I'm gonna get some black fabric and I'm gonna glue it on here with the E6000 glue all around here to sort of cover some of the see-through. Well, this is all very tight. I feel better if this was all hidden. At least this is just my personal preference. And it'll actually help with some of the rubbing I feel as far as this piece is moving around and the way it feels against the chest. So yeah, but again, that's just my thing. It does not really affect the performance, but I feel I want to do that. So the way that I'm going to do that is, I don't have it here and it won't be on this video, but I'm going to get a bigger piece of fabric. I'm going to put the glue, obviously glue it down. Once it's glued down properly, maybe 2 or 3 days later, then I'm just going to cut the fabric around it so that way everything is nice and tight. Because if you try to cut to this and then glue it, you never know how the fabric's going to stretch. So by gluing it on and then cutting it after, it should be fine. We'll see how that works out. But yeah, other than that, I'm very happy how this turned out. This is the helmet I wore, and I don't have a video for that. But yeah, the helmet turned out well. The only issue that I'll say about the helmet is, which I didn't wear it a lot before the convention, it does not have a lot of ventilation, which I'm sure it's not uncommon on many of these helmets. So what I might end up doing, I might do some little holes inside the black, all up here, and maybe some around here in the front. The new design of this, the V2, actually has holes already designed in. This is the V1. I do have the V2, but I didn't have the time to print it again and do the finish. So I am going to do the holes on this one. I'll be using a Dremel with a very tiny bit and then just slowly carve in holes in there. It will take me a while, but it is what it is. Another option I thought, which I really have to think about, is somehow attach a little fan back here, battery operated, to have it blow some air through the top and have it come down. And it may work like a little blower fan or something. So we'll see how that works out. But I will be printing new helmets for Red Hood. I did get some nice models from Do3D. I got the Spider-Man version with the web and so forth. They have the carbon fiber looking one. So I'm gonna pick one and see which one I pick. Obviously the ones with the texture are gonna be very difficult to paint. So really I have to be very picky as to which material I use and how I paint it. And I might do a video on that one, depending on what I decide to do, but that's not gonna be anytime soon. In case anybody's curious, these are the guns that I 3D printed. Again, these are also from Do3D. I printed them left and right, as you can see here. Some of the colors, I thought it would look cool, but with all the black, I felt they stood out too much. So I may reprint some of these parts, like the barrel here. This is actually orange. I don't know if it's easy to see. It's same color as this. I'm gonna reprint the barrel in black. This has to be orange for NYCC rules. And we'll see what else I do. But I felt they were a bit too bright for all the dark. It's possible I might redo the slider in a dark gray, because this part I could remove. I actually have to break this off. And I've done it before. It's a pain. It's not worth it. So I may actually reprint the whole gun and have these for display. But we'll see how that goes. But the video is about the chest piece. And overall, I'll say that turned out pretty well.